And Jeevan Sathi is a very tough business because Jeevan Sathi is one business where if you provide a good service, the customer go away. So the LTV is very, very less. So I always used to struggle and I used to envy Naukri.com for that because there if you do a good job, chances that he will come back and pay you more. Not the customer side, the recruiter side.
अच्छा यहाँ
से अच्छे recruiter में तो वो सारा पैसा जो अपना सारा बजट जो recruitment आप पे दे देंगे. तो and the thing is कि I तो when I write a check, I write off immediately. क्योंकि मतलब the mortality is so high that you never get attached to any investment. So you assume कि चल जाएगा तो अच्छी बात है, नहीं चलेगा तो मैं रोऊंगा नहीं इसको लेके. At the end of the day, it's a punt that you are taking on your gut feel about the founder, about the segment, about the stage where he is in, and his ability to execute. तो वो जो है in hindsight पता चलता है कि आपका decision सही था या गलत था. But the way I define it, there is one journey from 0 to 1, there is one journey from 1 to 10, and there is another journey from 10 to 10,000. 10 to 10,000 is going to be, you have to be process driven. And therefore, I mean, no matter how important the people feel, they will have to give way to the process. I mean, that transition is not easy and has to be managed well. There are missionaries and there are mercenaries. There are people who believe in your cause and will come to you because of that, and there are mercenaries because they are good at what they do, but as long as you pay them, they will execute it and they will.
Everyone, in this edition of Exploring Minds, we have with us one of the OGs and the dark horses of the investing world, Mr. Vivek Khare. He is a very early stage investor, a founding member of Naukri.com, and who has invested in companies like Zomato, happily unmarried, policybazaar, LetsVenture, and much more. Cashify. So, a pleasure to have you, sir. Do you feel that people who are academically smart become great founder? Or is it the vice? Because we have met both founders जो शुरुआत में बोलते थे यार हमको पढ़ाई लिखाई नहीं करनी थी इसलिए हमने काम धंधा शुरू कर दिया.
There is no rule here, so but the point is it's a statistics thing that it's not a rule. So what will happen is if I look at, for example, as I said, I'm also an investor in LetsVenture. LetsVenture, more than 300 startups raised their seed round the last calendar year.
Wow.
And I'm fairly confident that if I go back and look at the pedigrees and the performance of these founders in these 300, a very large part of them would come from good institute, would have done well academically, but that doesn't mean that is a rule.
Right.
We have founders from all kind of backgrounds, but yeah, the fact that you are from a good place, have done well, definitely will be will give you an edge. There's no doubt about that.
And what are some funnels where you get to know about early stage startups? कहाँ से आपको मिलते हैं ये सारे gems?
So there what happens is this whole concept of good karma. You be in this ecosystem, you selflessly help people, you help other investors, you help earlier founders and your founders, and once you have enough karma points, then the deal flow happens. So today my deal flow is from my other co-investors who had invested along with me and find my way of thinking and working useful, and therefore they bring their deals to me. A large chunk of my deals comes from my ex-founders, and there are other funds who have started are happy to share those deals with me. So as I said, you have to be in this system, you have to help whoever is there without expectations, and once you do that and you do it enough, then you will find that the good deals, good founders you start getting you're getting exposure to that.
Got it.
There is no easy answer, or there is no easy hack to getting access to good deals.
Got it. Coming back to your early days, so you did your KV IIT Kanpur and then you joined IIT Kanpur. So was it a conscious decision कि IIT Kanpur के KV में पढ़े तो चलो इसमें चले, तो वो story क्या थी sir?
So it's very interesting because 11th I had done from a different school and 12th I had done from KV IIT. Okay. So till I was in 11th, I was agnostic to IITs, to Roorkees, to MNR. It was like there were 3 big exams: Roorkee, MNR, and IIT.
Achha.
And it was like you have to prepare for all of them. All of them had fairly overlapping syllabus, but there were some differences. And you were like, you need to prepare for all of them, give all of them seriously, and hope that you will get into one of those cases. But when I came to KV IIT, in KV what happens is most of the faculties, kids also study in KV. So there the atmosphere, the prestige was very, very different. So then you were able to suddenly realize that there is an hierarchy and you need to understand that hierarchy, and then you need to aim for the best. So that I think that KV was able to inculcate कि it has to be IITs, and in IITs it has to be like IIT Kanpur or those IIT Bombay, IIT Delhi. So that hierarchy of IITs and hierarchy of the branch is something that I understood once I came to KV. And in fact, anecdotally, what happened was that when I gave my JEE, the most premium ended up becoming MSc Physics. Integrated MSc Physics in IIT Kanpur, because the topper had taken MSc Physics in the previous batch, and somehow that became the most aspiring things to do. So maybe, but I loved physics, so when I got a chance to do that, I said, this is what I'm wanting. That's what I wanted to do.
You spent 5 years at that institution.
5 years at that institute. Yeah.
How was the entrepreneurial culture? वहाँ पर कुछ धंधा करते थे शुरुआत में लोग? तब कहाँ जा रहे थे लोग?
There was nothing. This is much later. There, and you have to also understand that when we passed out in 92, that is the period when that Manmohan Singh and the whole of the liberalization happened. So our batch, they were basically 3 streams. Either you were giving your civil services, or you were going for your CAT, or you were going abroad. So those were the 3 things, and I was clear that I didn't want to do any of the 3. So that way I was fairly clueless what I wanted to do, and it was just a serendipity. It was just a chance that I ended up doing what I did.
So 92 में you were not falling in all the 3 buckets.
The conventional buckets I was very clear.
तो फिर आपने क्या करा? क्या सोचा उस वक्त?
वही मैं कह रहा हूँ कि वो जो था कुछ नहीं सोच रहे थे, तो इसलिए जो है बाय डिफॉल्ट जब कुछ नहीं सोच रहे थे, जो मिल रहा था, तो I ended up they were part-time faculty positions at FIITJEE. I thought this is a good place to make some money. Ended up going there. I liked what they were doing, and then one thing led to another. Again, as I said, I have not planned things. I have done things on my gut, and I'd been lucky, and because it was my decisions, I've enjoyed what I have done. So I don't have a clear answers of my early days of why things happened the way they did.
Got it.
But yeah.
So you studied physics. Do you? This might be a very bad question, but जो आपने physics सीखी 5 साल, can you bring out any analogies from physics to the startup investing world?
See, I did physics because I loved it. I didn't have exposure to anything else. But once I was at IIT, I realized that there were many other things that I was equally interested in. I was very keen. When I started taking electives in economics, I found that even more exciting. I took electives in psychology, which were very interesting. And that is the reason why I feel places like Ashoka and places like Plaksha are the need of the hours, because I realized that I didn't have enough exposure, and I ended up taking a branch and pivoting later. So that is the reason I am fully supportive of what Plaksha and Ashoka are trying to do, is give you a bigger canvas, giving you a chance to explore everything, understanding multiple things, figuring out 2 or 3 things that you're excited in, and then going for it. So that is one part of what you asked. Second thing is that I won't say about the physics part of it, but I would say about the education at IIT part of it, because it is not about what you learn, but the fact that you learn to learn. The reasons I'm grateful to IITs is because that teaches you how to learn. So once you do that, then no matter where you are thrown, what situations you get to, you are not afraid of that situation. So I credit physics and IIT Kanpur education for that. That has helped me no matter where I am, whatever new things is there, I have not been afraid of learning new things, and that's something I continue to do. And of what I do, that is something which is very important. You have to be constantly learning new things, and that is which has helped me a lot in my life, and that is something that I advise everybody, that in today's world, you can't stop learning even for a minute, because the world is changing so quickly that whatever you learn gets obsolete and outdated very, very quickly.
Got it. And then you were an early stage employee. I believe you were 5th or 7th employee of FIITJEE. And you have seen
at both at Infoedge and at FIITJEE.
We'll come to the Infoedge story, but tell us about कि FIITJEE को आपने देखा कि when you joined and you saw that scaling 5x, how was the transition? So एक early stage एक
So that
startup.
was my first job, frankly speaking, and I had no benchmark.
हाँ.
So for me, it was the normal 9 to 5
ठीक है.
work, where every day you come, the complexity of the job, the scope of everything was increasing,
Right.
and you were adopting to the new demand on a daily basis. I mean, and you have to understand that we were recruiting many more teachers, we were accepting many more students, we were creating many more infrastructure to teach them. So all of that was happening at a scale. So whatever you had done for that, so example, admissions, we were, so when you have to take 5 times more students,
हाँ.
the process has to be very different from what you had done earlier. The
Right.
faculty, the way you are hiring, from where you are hiring, the way you are training them,
सारे processes बिगड़
सारा
जाते हैं.
कुछ चीज़ें हैं, हर बार वो चेंज
हाँ.
होना रहता था. तो I'm just saying I was very fortunate enough to be part. Obviously I was handling one part of the problem. There were other people who were doing the other aspects, but you were able to, and again I think that is where my core strength comes in, that I love to see the bigger picture, okay, how all of them are working together. So as I said, for me, I think that one of the biggest innovation I did was I integrated the admission department with the core academics of FIITJEE.
कैसे?
So हम जो है FIITJEE के लिए एडमिशन के लिए टेस्ट लेते थे.
हाँ.
और वही टेस्ट जो थे वो हमेशा जो थे जो FIITJEE के स्टूडेंट्स का एकेडमिक कैलेंडर चलता था उससे सिंक में रहते थे.
अच्छा. हाँ.
तो हमें ये पता था कि FIITJEE में कौन से बच्चे आर परफॉर्मिंग वेल. We knew that, so that used to be my benchmark when I was identifying or
बाहर से
selecting
influx
from
आता था. हाँ.
बाहर से, and that became such a strong synergistic thing, because that test became a big hit. So irrespective whether whoever was preparing for JEE, whether he was studying with FIITJEE or not, wanted to take the test at least, because we would calibrate and tell them what is going to be your performance. So we had something called your expected rank, which was basically a range, and I knew that the top 2 percentile will be in top 2 and things like that. So it was no rocket science, but that data was very, very important, and because of that we used to get most of the good students preparing. And as I said, the best part was that when I left, I knew a priori who will be in the top 100 of my students. So it was, and it didn't come as a surprise. I mean, I remember in JEE 97, I was very clear the topper was with us, and he ended up topping everything from IIT to Roorkee to MNR. He topped everywhere, and that was like given. In fact, I invested in his startup.
What's his name? What is he working on?
So he went to MIT, he went to Google, he did his own startup. Now I think he is working for one of our early stage startups again.
Got it. और सर इस वक्त जैसा होता है वो टीचर को ज्यादा पैसा देके खींच लेते हैं.
वो सब बाद में हुआ था. हमारे टाइम वाज फार मोर इनोसेंट.
अच्छा.
बट ऑल ऑफ दैट द कोटा फैक्ट्री थिंग्स हैपेंड. वो वाज स्टार्टिंग टू हैपन, बट थैंकफुली आई लेफ्ट बिफोर दैट.
एंड व्हाट वाज द टर्निंग पॉइंट कि यार मुझे इसमें नहीं रहना, आई वांट टू गो?
my there is a Hindi word called mobhang. The reasons why I didn't enjoy was that because I realized, and the reason I was successful because I knew that the students who were getting through because of their sheer hard work. The value add that you can do as an institute, as a faculty is very, very limited. So and you were selling the dream which I knew will not come out. So and again I'm forward looking. The internet was happening. I was very excited about it. So the moment I got a chance to jump the ship, I jumped.
And how did you met Sanjeev sir? Because we know that you have done close to a dozen deals with him. So what was the first interaction with him?
No, it's again very interesting story. I had gone there to take his help to help me articulate my CV.
Acha.
I was not sure what I should put as my experience which would be relevant, because I was basically working at FIITJEE in a specific role. So I wanted that to be articulated better, and Sanjiv had the service where he would help you write the CV.
Free of cost?
Not free of cost. There was a paid service of Naukri.com. So I was taking that service. I had gone there, and Sanjiv's co-founder Saroja ended up recommending me to Sanjiv. and then I got hired, though
Achha.
Sanjeev has a slightly different version of the same.
Huh.
But the end of the thing is that I had gone there for the service, they were looking for somebody, and they hired me.
तो आप naukri.com पे नौकरी लेने के लिए नौकरी ढूंढने के लिए गए थे,
हाँ,
लेकिन उन्होंने खुद ही हायर
कर लिया. I was very happy.
And how was the first interaction
with Sanjeev?
हाँ.
Sanjeev is he's very charismatic.
Huh.
It's very difficult not to like him, and that is something which again I say in the first few years we didn't work for Naukri.com, we worked for Sanjeev Bikhchandani. He was the kind of person, and that is something which again one lens that I look for when I'm in doing the early stage investment, because in the early stage it is not the company that you are investing in, or it's not the company's product that you are buying in, you're buying in the vision of the founder. So the founder has to be the great salesperson, both for his investors, for his employees, for his customer, for everybody. And Sanjeev epitomizes that thing.
Got it.
He's the kind of person that you want to work for.
Can you break that charisma? Let's break down that charisma.
So as I said, it is the founder's vision around which the startup will happen.
ठीक है.
So he need to have a strong conviction about that, and he should be able to sell that conviction to everybody, and that everybody will involve his co-founder, his employees, because he may not be able to pay the best salaries which is out there, but he needs the best team, and the best team will come only because they also share the vision with the founder.
Right.
So he need to be able to first sell it to his co-founder, to his employees, then he needs to go and sell the same charisma to his first set of customers, because that service or that product didn't exist earlier, and now you're saying you use this. They will not use it unless that conviction gets transferred from the founder to the first set of customers. So he has to be a salesperson for his first set of customers. Then comes the investors. So what I've realized is, and the thing is that this team of the people who work for you, the customers that you have, the other people who are invested in the company, that things keeps increasing, and in the first 4 or 5 years it's all about the founders. So in fact, one of my when I'm looking at talking to the founders, for me the first thing is do I see this guy when this company is 500 people worth 1,000 crores, whether he'll be able to handle that or not. And wahan pe my benchmark are people like Sanjeev Bikhchandani, ki matlab if he's 100 and is this guy 90, is guy 70. So that's the way it works. So I was very, very lucky that I had him as my first boss.
Got it. And tell us about his leadership style. Because charisma, I understand your vision.
So he is extremely good at articulation. He is extremely good at delegation. He gives you the freedom. He is okay with you making mistakes. Believe me, we have made horrible mistakes, and his immediate thing is, how do you correct that, how do you mitigate that, how do you contain the fallout, and that gives you the courage to
go out and
go out first, accept it कि भैया ये हो गया, ये गंद मच गई है, and then you work very hard to do it, and then because the way he treats you, you get the comfort कि this is not his company, this is your company, and then you start working to ensure कि how to contain that gand. I mean, I strongly believe that everybody in the startup world is there to manage shit.
True.
Not to let it go आगे. तो मैं कहता हूँ कि there are energy takers and energy givers. You need to be a energy giver.
Right.
He is the kind of guy who has surrounded himself with energy givers. I mean, and that's the reason why the core team of Naukri is still there, and even the people who have kind of left because they got bored, not tired, or they got frustrated because they got bored and उनका पेट भर गया था इसलिए वो गए मेरे जैसे लोग, but they still consider Sanjeev at a very different pedestal. Yeah.
And what was your role at Naukri, and because you worked there for
so that is, I think, my nature. I worked there for 15-20 years, but I think every 3-4 years I had a completely different role. So I started off in operations. I handled the operations for some times. Then I realized that nobody was handling technology, so I jumped into technology, did that. Then there was a new vertical of matrimony which was being launched. I said I want to be part of that, so I was allowed to run that. And while I was running the matrimony, I realized that data was very, very important. So I understood the importance of data. So the analytics was given to me. I was handling the Google had come. Google was completely maths driven. There was no marketing. It was all maths. So I did that. And once I did that, that was something which was percolated down to even Naukri. I mean, I realized that all the leads that I was getting for Jeevansathi were not of equal importance, and I was able to figure out which are more important and less important. And once you, if a profile has been posted by the parent, will be and of a serious candidate will be far more useful than an let's say 18-year-old who had come to your site by looking at the cricket score.
Right.
So you advertise on the that used to be a widget on which the cricket scores used to be there. You used to run ads there. So if a boy was watching the cricket and he ended up on Jeevansathi, he is not going to pay.
Right.
That is intuitively correct. But the question is that intuition you need to convert into some kind of analytical model. So I created that model, and once we did that, we realized that this can be used everywhere. So even for Naukri, not all CVs are equally important. If there's somebody from a premium institute with 7 years experience, he is more useful than a fresher. So we were able to say not all leads are equal. So once you have that paradigm, the way you do your marketing, the way you handle your product, the way you do your servicing, everything changes. So I was able to bring that. So I did that for some time, and then 2010 when Sanjiv started CorpDev, he pulled me into with him do the CorpDev. So within Naukri, within like 15 years, from operations to technology to business head to analytics to CorpDev, I've done everything.
What's CorpDev? Can you break it down for us?
So CorpDev is basically where we say now I don't want to start more business. We were doing Naukri, we were doing Jeevansathi, we were doing 99 acres, we were doing Shiksha and all of that.
Now we'll buy.
Not buy, we will invest in other, so that they have their own independence, but we have a vested interest in them. So with that, and the idea was that if they do well, we'll keep on incrementally getting more and more, and eventually if they're very successful, we'll incorporate them in. That was the idea with which we started. And but the ones which were very successful were so successful that we realized we'll never be able to swallow them, and therefore we were happy to have this stake in them.
Got it. And so when you started your CorpDev department, what was the first investment you guys made?
So when I joined, they had already invested in a company called Merit Nation, and I had gone and worked for Merit Nation, and I realized I love that idea, and I was ready to work for Merit Nation. But Sanjeev said what you have done for Merit Nation, that you worked there, understood them, held them, you do it for the rest of the portfolio. And at that point of time, we were about to make investments in Zomato and policybazaar. So policybazaar, I think had already happened. Zomato was about to happen. So I had gone and done the diligence. So these guys were working out of one bedroom in one residence. So I gone and met them, understood them, what they were trying to do, how they were trying to do. And and the thing is that you have to understand Naukri already had an ecosystem. We understood the internet, we understood the marketing. Right. So the whole idea of my job was basically they don't have to reinvent the wheel. So whatever problem they are facing, chances of that a version of that we would have faced somewhere. So in technology, in marketing, in sales, in treasury, and things like that. So a lot of knowledge that we had, we were able to kind of give them on a platter. Okay, you want to figure out how the sales structure, do this. You want to figure out the incentive structure, this is the way to do it. You are having problem with the service, this is the way you can handle this, and things like that. So and because of the role I had, I understood the Naukri ecosystem well. I was able to direct them to the right set of but having said that, though it is a help, but everybody makes their own set of mistakes. They have their own way of doing things. So luckily all these companies had their own strong cultures. So I don't think they borrowed the culture from Infoedge. All of these companies have very different culture, and that is something that I realized because I had the ringside view of how they were deciding. So I knew the way they were doing things will be very, very different from the way we would have done. As a boss, as a culture, what Sanjeev had created was very different from what Dipinder had done or what Yashish had done. But I had the healthy respect for all of them. What works for them, it doesn't mean that it's right or wrong. So let them be. That was very, very interesting, and that is something that I realized, that humbleness. there is no one right way. There are multiple
Ways to
ways in which companies can succeed.
So आपका काम क्या होता था? Whenever you are investing in a startup, you go and work with them, due diligence. Exactly, can you tell us?
It was more of be with them, understand them. If they be part of their reviews, whatever problem they are facing, try and see how you can help them.
ठीक है.
And also keep a sense ki what direction they are getting. And see, I didn't had an executive power over them. I didn't have advisory thing कि I can tell कि भाई हमने ऐसा किया था, देख लो अगर इसमें से कुछ यूजफुल लगता है तो take it, otherwise do the way you want. So Sanjeev was very good at that, and that is something that I learned from him. कि I was very clear on my role in their organization कि it's an advisory role. कि you want to do the hiring, this is the way you want to decide the marketing budget, this is the way to do. Marketing में आपके पास ये है, you can do this. What I would suggest is this. And there was something which they listened to it and it worked for them. There are certain things they want to do their own way. They did that. So we respected that. And again the thing was, what I have realized that ki in the earlier till they are what I call the market fit. Till they are discovering their market fit, they are amiable. But once the market fit, then the market starts telling them what to be done.
क्या करना है?
हाँ, तो फिर जो है आपको मार्केट की सुननी है, आप किसी और की आपको जरूरत नहीं सुनने की. So that's the way they happened.
So आपने बताया Merit Nation से you learnt a lot. Can you tell us कि why did you like the idea of Merit Nation at that time? What all से आपने turn around कैसे करा?
So I used to handle Jeevan Sathi before that.
अच्छा, ठीक है.
And Jeevan Sathi is a very tough business.
कैसे?
Because Jeevan Sathi is one business where if you provide a good service, the customer go away. उसकी
शादी हो गई, चले गया, दोबारा हो गई नहीं.
ठीक है. तो the LTV is very less.
low.
So I always used to struggle and I used to envy Infoedge, Naukri.com for that, because there if you do a good job, chances that he will come back and pay you more.
हाँ, true. कि यहीं से मेरे को पहली नौकरी मिली थी. नहीं,
not the customer side, the recruiter side.
अच्छा, कि यहाँ से
अच्छे recruiter मिलते हैं, वो सारा पैसा जो है अपना सारा budget जो है recruitment आप पे दे देंगे. तो you will keep billing more and more, and repeats are very very high, and therefore even before you start your quarter or your year, you already have a sense of कि I will start from this base. That is there.
ठीक है.
जीवन साथी में उल्टा था, बिकॉज आई न्यू कि मेरे को हर क्वार्टर में नया गड्ढा खोदना है, हर बार जो है नए बंदे ढूंढने हैं. तो बट द थिंग इज बिकॉज इट्स अ कंज्यूमर बिजनेस, यू आर टेकिंग मनी फ्रॉम एवरी इंडिविजुअल, द टोटल क्वांटम वाज वेरी हाई.
राइट.
मेरिट नेशन हैड एडवांटेज ऑफ बोथ, because if you do a good service, then the student will keep buying again and again for 7-8 years.
Right.
If you get them early. And at the same time, unlike Naukri, which was a tough sell, you need to have a very large corporate team and very very sophisticated sales people, you could sell very easily.
और यहाँ पर जो seller मेरे हिसाब से they were having these centers. So was it B2C or B2?
No, it was all online.
अच्छा.
Merit Nation was always all online, and the thing is कि they had a sales team which was selling, and again the thing is that मतलब at least the theory was that ki you will be able to identify who are the students who are engaging with you more, and therefore you would be able to go and convert them, and if you provide a good service, you would be able to, they will renew again and again. That was the thesis. That was one part, and the second part was jo excited me the most about Merit Nation was what they were consuming was content. So I was like ki just by the analytics of it ki how they are using the content, I'll figure out what is working, what's not working. If it's good, they will continue consume the whole thing. If it's not good, they will abandon it. So if they abandon it, something is wrong, you correct it, and once you correct it, it's corrected forever. And so that's the reason I was very excited about, and that is the thesis for the online. That's a separate thing. There are many more nuances which came into this. The test prep became different, then senior classes are different, the junior classes are different, the skills, the upskilling wala part is different. All of that is there. That bifurcation happened, and many more players came. But we were the first one. I mean, all the Byju's of the world and all of them came much later. So I still believe my thesis was right. It's just that
what went wrong then?
What went wrong was that we tried to do too many things within the Merit Nation umbrella. At some point, you'll have to decide the niche, whether you want to be senior classes, you want to be junior classes, you want to be test prep, you want to be online you want to be, you know. So because it's such a large animal, we try to do too many things together, which didn't work according to me. But eventually, I mean, the thing is, they had an exit. They were able to. That company got sold to Akash. So it was not that it was a complete failure. But yeah, I mean, it could have done far better.
Got it. So, you know, you were in the advisory role for a very long time. Tell us.
I'm still with most of the startups.
बहुत बार ऐसा होता है कि, you know, whenever you seek advice from someone, तो advice लेते हुए एक pressure आता है कि यार जब हम सामने वाले से पूछ रहे हैं ना तो फिर माननी भी पड़ेगी बात. So, for example, there was something which needed to be done, and I had to visit certain office, academic office at our place, and they suggested कि go and talk to the VC, and I was like यार VC से मैं बात करूँगा, और उन्होंने मेरे को बोला कि यार शिवांग इसमें ऐसे करना चाहिए. I won't be in a position to defy, then मेरा जो control है वो lose हो जाएगा. So how do you deal with this?
So my paradigm is that कि the founders forms the company because they want to be control of their life.
Right.
ठीक है. अगर उनको किसी और की सुननी होती वो मैनेजर बन जाते, उनको अपना स्टार्टअप करने की या जरूरत नहीं थी. So you need to fundamentally respect that. ठीक है. And once you have that, at an advisory level you also know that you have no control over the execution. कि वो उसको execute कैसे करेगा. So you have no control over the outcome.
Right.
ठीक है. You don't have the ability to course correct it if things don't go as per your order/advice.
Right.
So the important thing is that, and you don't know what you don't know. You are giving advice or the things based on the information that he has given you.
Right.
कि भाई मेरे को ये प्रॉब्लम है या मेरे साथ ये सिचुएशन है, मैं क्या करूँ. तो आपने उसके बेसिस पे जो आपको सबसे सही लगता था वो आपने उसको बता दिया. और मेरा ये भी कि मेरे मतलब what I have realized that it's not an advice. It is more of a कि इस सिचुएशन में इसने ऐसा ऐसा किया था. Can you see some inspiration or whether this situation works for you or not? Take that. So and because I have such a plethora of experience in the companies I have run, I have seen, I have invested in, I am always able to tell them कि for this problem take inspiration from such and such places where they were able to solve these things. So you are having a problem with your founder, this is the way they had sorted it. You are having a problem with one of your employees, he is a good employee but he is cheating, this is the way they had handled it. Now if you can find value in that, use that. If you find a version of that or an iteration of that can help you, do that. But I will not tell you ki how to handle this problem. I have stopped doing that after that doesn't work. So all you need to do is that give them other instances where the similar problem has been solved.
Got it.
In a way, and that is where you know the value gets added. Ki the more broader your experience is, more chance that you have is able to give them a relevant case study which is there.
ये तो हुआ advisor की तरफ से. Tell us, because again you're giving advisory to a lot of companies. Tell us the difference between a good advice taker. So for example, आपने बहुत सारे founders को ये करा होगा. How does good founders take advice and how some bad founders take advice?
So good founder bad founder का जो core difference है, मैंने ये realize कर लिया है, is their customer focus.
अच्छा.
ठीक है. All the good founders are fanatically customer focused. ठीक है. Bad founders are wedded to their idea कि ऐसे ही चलनी चाहिए. ठीक है. No matter what the market is saying. So I have realized कि वो जो है, so more than the founder, when I do my review or I keep my ear and eye open for wherever I invested, I keep trying to talk to the customers. Are the customers happy or not? Or you find an anecdotal way of roundabout way of reaching to customers and talking to them and getting a sense of their satisfaction for this this startup's product or service. That is the real वो. And then you see कि जो feedback आपको market से मिल रहा है and the way founder जो बोल रहा है. और मेरा वो है कि आप डायरेक्टली एडवाइस नहीं दे रहे हो, आप सिर्फ राउंड अबाउट तरीके से बता रहे हो कि देखो ये हो रहा है, इस चीज़ को देख लो. तो जो फोकस होते हैं वो जो है उस चीज़ को पिवट कर लेते हैं, एसिमुलेट कर लेते हैं. जो वेरिड होते हैं कि नहीं मेरे को तो ऐसा ही करना है. एंड द थिंग इज कि यू नो आई तो व्हेन आई राइट अ चेक आई राइट ऑफ इमीडिएटली इन माई हेड.
नहीं होगा काम.
हाँ.
ठीक है.
क्योंकि मतलब the mortality is so high that you never get attached to any investment. So you assume कि चल जाएगा तो अच्छी बात है, नहीं चलेगा तो मैं रोऊंगा नहीं इसको लेके. So
Especially at the early stage.
At the early stage, because the mortality is so high, so I'm mentally prepared. And the thing is कि there is nothing to go by on. So my diligence, no matter how much I try to be says कि नहीं मैं ये करता हूँ वो करता हूँ, at the end of the day it's a punt that you are taking on your gut feel about the founder, about the segment, about the stage where he is in, and his ability to execute. तो वो जो है in hindsight पता चलता है कि आपका decision सही था या गलत था. बट जो आपका एक फ्रेमवर्क है, आप उस फ्रेमवर्क पे वॉट एवर बेस्ट यू कैन जज, यू डू दैट एंड मेक द इन्वेस्टमेंट. सो सम ऑफ देम टर्न्स आउट राइट. एंड अगेन द थिंग इज कि इट विल ऑलवेज सरप्राइज यू व्हाट वर्क्स एंड व्हाट डजंट वर्क, बिकॉज जो आप सोचते हो कि ऐसा होगा वो कभी होता नहीं है. जो आपने नहीं सोचा था कि है वो सुपर सक्सेसफुल.
गिव अस एग्जांपल्स, टेल अस डिफरेंट बकेट के इनमें स्टार्टअप में इन्वेस्ट करा था, दीज वेंट टेरिबली रॉन्ग, दीज गिव मी यू नो जितना लगाया था उतना पैसा वापस आ गया, और these gave me exponential return. So categorize your investment in these buckets.
See, I will not take specific names because I don't think that would be correct. But what I'll tell you, what I realized that कि there are certain quote unquote super hot deals.
अच्छा.
कि boss इसमें all the marquee investors are there and this VC is there and जो the founder has
FOMO.
this the FOMO वाला part जो है उसमें जो है कि नहीं इसमें तो आपको invest करना है. And then the thing is कि you end up investing because of peer pressure and things कि ठीक है you put a small check there. I have realized that कि most of them have not worked for me. हाँ. ठीक है. And the thing is that कि either the founder got tired because these are marquee guys, they had an opportunity cost कि boss my market salary so much and I tried for 2 or 3 years, it has not worked. Now I need to मतलब I have too much liabilities, I need to move back. So that happens a lot in these kind of deals. Then the second thing is again as I said कि eventually it boils down to कि what is the conviction the founder has about the problem that he is trying to solve. And there if you are aligned कि हाँ this is a good problem to solve and you are there, those are the startups which have done well for me.
Got it.
And one of the sad cases are where the founders fight. So the good startup doing well and they fail when the founders don't get along. Those are the most painful one. Because you know there was a potential, there was a good market, everything, but because they did not execute, they fell apart. So
what was the template an understanding of you in these cases? How do you prevent founder fightings and what have you learned with these?
So वही मैं कह रहा हूँ कि वो जो वही मैं कह रहा हूँ कि भैया if the founders fight, there is a way you can help them, because see it's a lose-lose. If they fight, everybody lose. They lose, the customers lose, the employees lose, investors lose. ठीक है. So you need to tell them कि boss, the thing is कि for the sake of it, please make, or you figure out a amicable way of division कि how you will do this, and you know the division of labor कि आप ये करोगे ये नहीं करोगे, so that you can work together. Or figure out a way where they can separate out without affecting the outcome. ठीक है. So and again as I said I have examples of how these things was resolved in various cases. Other ways, so इसकी बहुत देखो ये 3-4 तरीके हैं in which you can resort it. ये example यहाँ का, ये example यहाँ का, ये example यहाँ का है. तुम देख लो कि what is going to work for both of you. उनमें से अगर तुम्हें help चाहिए कि तो मैं जो है I'll introduce you. They would be able to tell कि what would be the process they follow to do whatever.
Tell us कि founder fights होती क्यों हैं? जितने भी ये cases थे यहाँ पर founder fight का reason क्या था?
Founder fight, देखो what happens is that कि there is founders when they come together, they normally come from either they have worked together or they studied together or they are related. So there is not a very clear understanding of the division, who will do what, who is good at what. So what happens is कि when somebody is subpar in the role, he need to be gracious enough to understand कि boss, this is very critical for the success of the company and we need to somebody else handle that and I need to withdraw. भाई आप फाउंडर, आपके पास फाउंडर इक्विटी है, उसकी वैल्यू तभी बढ़ेगी जब कंपनी की वैल्यू बढ़ेगी. तो यू नीड टू अंडरस्टैंड in your self interest is that ki let a more competent person take over it. Don't let the ego come in. Okay? But it is easier said than done. So normally that happens. And then what happens is that as the complexity of the organization grow, more and more people are required. So the people who didn't have the risk appetite earlier are willing to join because now the risk is gone.
Right.
Okay? And they are more competent. But the fact of the matter is they're coming at a later stage. So you should in your own self-interest, you should let them and take over.
Right.
Okay? But normally what happens, in many cases, if doesn't happen. So that creates the friction, and in some cases it's amicably resolved, and there the investors have to step in, or somebody who has both the interest of both the people have to step in and do the bandarbat.
When we'll talk, we had a interaction with Sanjeev sir during this program only, and he said that great businesses are built over deepest consumer insights, and that was somewhat the idea of the masterclass today with you. And you have built businesses for India, Jeevan Sathi, Naukri, Merit Nation. Tell us about the deepest consumer insights that you have about Indian audience, Indian consumers. What have you learned while building?
So my first slight correction is that I have helped people who had the deep conviction. I have never been a founder myself. I have always been an early employee. I had a ringside view of the value getting created because I was the foot soldier for the right general. That is one thing. But I have seen the conviction they had about their idea and the perseverance they had with which they pursued their thinking. I have seen that many times over in various startups where I have invested, where I have worked. And the team that they create, which will help them, fulfill that vision, that percolates. That is very important. So, and this again Sanjeev's dialogue, there are missionaries and there are mercenaries. There are people who believe in your cause and will come to you because of that, and there are mercenaries because they are good at what they do, but as long as you pay them, they will execute it and they will move on.
Wow.
So, in the earlier avatar, when the startup is from the market fit to a one level of growth, you need missionaries. And there again the thing is that is a period when you will put the structure in place, you will put the processes in place, and that is going to create a lot of friction because all the freedom that the people had will go away because now everybody is slave to the process.
Right.
But once the process have come in, then the missionaries mercenaries can come in because they will be able to take that process, solidify it, execute it.
You're paying them well.
You're paying them well, and it will continue.
Wow.
And after a point, and that's the reason I'm saying that journey is also very important. How the companies go from market fit to growth. Because us waqt tak you were figuring out, so you needed people who would be able to take do that. उस वक्त process अगर आपने डाल दिया तो it's going to impede everything.
Right.
So you need to give them the freedom to innovate, to do various things, fail, all of that. But once this is working, then the thing is that I have realized, and that transition also is very important, and I've seen it in many organizations. Once the market fit is there, one leg of growth is over, and now the next leg of growth is there, where the new set of people will come, and all the previous guys will have to readjust to the new realities. And there is and that again, I thought strongly feel I should do a doctorate or thesis on that. When that transition happen, when from the people dependent you go to the process wala part, process driven, that is the toughest one. There are many times when even the founders fail in that.
Because founders ki bhi different qualities.
They are not able to put the processes in place. They want to be people dependent. And that is the time when you get the professional CEO comes in and they move out over.
Tell us examples of some great companies who have smoothly did this transition from people dependent to process driven.
See, there are many. You look at the Flipkarts. Both the founders eventually gave way to a professional CEO.
Right.
But in our case, Hitesh was there who was able to put the processes in place. There were people who were able to adopt to the new structured way, and there were people who didn't. but amicably the
it.
people who adopted continue to be with the organization for longer time. The people who were more independent, they amicably moved out. So वो हुआ. So but I have, and when it happens to you, you know, it's very painful. Till yesterday you were the most important guy, and today
no one is asking you.
No, it's not only they're asking you. There is a process. हर चीज के लिए you have to take permission, you have to fill forms, you have to do that, and you feel कि I have given so much, and now suddenly you know nobody trusts me. So that thing hits you, and I'm seeing it again and again. So I'm now in a situation where I can go and tell the companies कि boss, this transition will happen. You need to tell these people, you need to orient them. Don't, because otherwise they will feel hurt, and you know they will not be able to handle that. So that change I've seen so often, and because you know you have been working with them, and again what I enjoy my role is that ki more than the founders, my role, I'm a role model for the core team, because I was successful as a core team member. So they empathize, the core team empathizes more with me than with the founder, because they says ki Vivek can do it. He can create, though he has never done a startup on his own, but he was successful by the ESOPs and things like that. So they want to emulate me. I mean, I'm a better role model to them than wo. So I have been able to help many of these founders retain their core team, because I saw that problem. Ki as the company grew, as the structure came, as more and more senior people came, many of these people start feeling let down, or they have to recalibrate their role in the organization.
No, this is a very interesting thing, because I believe maybe I have a different view on this on this example. So we started this summer innovation program, and it was entirely club driven. So we got the approvals कि ऐसे structure होगा तो इसके 3 credit मिल जाएंगे, जितने भी हमारा फंड्स आएगा ऐसे ग्रांट्स जाएंगे, यहाँ पर पैसा लगेगा. We were getting those approvals. We started inviting people, and as soon as this thing became something, it materialized, and the senior the administration took over. This is a very good thing. This will become a Plaksha ka program, and now
we'll restructure
it and do things. And then we saw कि यार अभी तक तो हमारे email लिखने से काम हो जाता था, approval हो जाता था, और अभी things, the point of contact is changing. That feels bad, but overall for the betterment, it's always.
That's exactly my point. Right. So that happens. That will happen everywhere. Because the way I define it, there is a one journey from 0 to 1. There is one journey from 1 to 10, and there is another journey from 10 to 10,000.
Got it.
So 10 to 10,000. So 10 to 10,000 is going to be, you will have to be process driven, and therefore, I mean, no matter how important the people feel, they will have to give way to the process. And that is not, I mean, that transition
is not easy.
And has to be managed well.
So tell us, you have built a lot of marketplaces, sir. और marketplaces बनाने में catch-22 होता है कि until and unless I won't have enough customers, there will be no buyers. और जब तक मेरे पास buyers नहीं होंगे, तब customers नहीं होंगे. And
I've done it again and again.
Tell us how to break this catch-22.
So marketplaces boils down to handshakes.
ठीक है.
There's a discovery.
ठीक है.
Discovery has to happen, and for discovery, 2 things have to happen. Is that there has to be balance of demand supply. Because if there is too much of demand and low supply, demand will say यहाँ तो कुछ है ही नहीं, and therefore they will go away.
Right.
And if you have too much of supply and not enough demand, तो वो बोलेगा कि यार what's the point of listing? There is no demand, and therefore they will go away. So both the things have to be built up together, and you need to understand both aspects. Ki what kind of, suppose for example, if I take, let's say, LetsVenture, it's a marketplace.
Right.
The startups gets discovered by the angels. So
how is it different from Kickstarter? Is it the same concept?
I am not very sure. I'm not aware of the Kickstarter, but it's more like angel list. Is a closer example. But the idea is that at any given point of time, there are good startups trying to raise money from angels. Okay. So when we started, the same problem was there. If a startup comes and there are not too many angels, then the thing is they don't get traction, and they says we'll not spend time.
Right.
And at the same time, if I get a new angel onto the platform, if he doesn't find a good, exciting startups, he will go away.
Right.
Okay. Same thing was though for Naukri. The same thing was true for some level at Zomato also. But Zomato is slightly different case.
Right.
But this was similar.
Right.
So, so the way it works is, to make this thing work, you need to keep on working artificially. Artificially, when I say what I mean artificially is that after a point, once the flywheel starts, the virtuous flywheel starts, then you won't have to do that. But till that happen, you have to put energies behind that. For example, on Naukri.com, we had job seekers, we had recruiters.
Right.
We knew कि if the recruiters don't find value,
job seekers
को नहीं आएगा. तो हम जो है हम recruiters के पास जाते थे, आपके पास जो भी नौकरी है, आप हमें दो, हम डालेंगे. And what would happen is कि हमारा sales team was like very very good. They will go and sell the subscription, but it will not get used.
बिल्कुल, क्योंकि जॉब सीकर्स नहीं है.
जॉब सीकर्स नहीं है, वो जो है बिजी है, वो न्यूज़पेपर में दे रहा है, उससे खुश है. उसको लगता है कि यहाँ तो मतलब वहाँ से 100 सीवी जाएंगे, यहाँ से 2 सीवी जाएंगे, इस पे क्यों मेहनत करनी. तो अगर उसने जो है मतलब इफ वी नो कि वी हैड अ क्लाइंट हु हैड एडवर्टाइज एनीवेयर, वी विल गो टू देम एंड सेज कि इफ यू डोंट माइंड वी विल पुट दिस ऑन नौकरी. सो वी विल नॉट लेट एनी जॉब व्हिच वाज एडवर्टाइज एनीवेयर नॉट बी ऑन naukri.com.
राइट.
ठीक है. सो वी आर्टिफिशियली डिड दैट. वी ensured that there was enough jobs on the website at any given point of time. And you won't believe, there was a time when even as a tech person, I would go and tell the salesperson ki boss, this guy is getting very good response, why don't you go and tell. So I remember we had, I don't know, LG as a big client, they had advertised their positions and there was crazy amount of response which was there, and I knew as a techie they had not even looked at it.
Right.
So we had to go and tell them ki if you want, tell us what you want, we will do the shortlisting for you and give it to you in the form that you want. We used to have this concept of Let's Ignite, where we said ki we will create an event, a short window, where we'll invite all the good startups and invite all the good angels so that come and talk to each other.
Right.
So what you do is that you artificially create these handshakes in the platform.
Got it.
And when they see the value in that handshake, then they get excited and they start coming on their own. And once they start coming on their own, you can sit back and relax, because now the thing is ki both of them are coming, discovering each other, paying for the discovery and moving away. And so the good part about the platform is that you should never, your business model should not have the transaction fee. It should be a listing fee.
Got it.
So Naukri.com is not bothered whether you got hired or not. As long as you discover the person, I am happy. Now take the conversation offline, interview him, offer him, negotiate with him, close it. I don't give a damn कि what is the salary.
मैं तो आपसे लिस्टिंग करते
मैं लिस्टिंग का पैसा ले रहा हूँ.
समझ गए.
Because if you get into the transaction part of it, then you have to be involved in that negotiation which happens offline. And they are like कि boss हो गया, तुम निकल, तेरी जरूरत नहीं है. तो वहाँ पे वो लीकेज हो गई होगा, and it gets very very scary.
You made a lot of blunders. Tell us certain things that you learned the hard way, sir.
In what? In execution or in investment?
Both.
नहीं, execution में तो see the thing is कि again as I said कि every time I was the first one to raise the hand and says कि मैं ये कर लूँगा, which nobody was doing, was never done earlier. So obviously you would make mistakes. I mean, another thing is that कि what also happens is कि what is working today or what seems to be okay today, because of the sheer scale, breaks the next day. So Infoedge में that happened very often कि the servers were working fine, the load was fine today, but suddenly the traffic became 10x, and then whatever you did is no longer working. Therefore, the site has crashed, the salespeople are angry, the customers are angry, everybody is angry, and we have no clue what to do because you have never faced that situation. So
करते क्या है उस पोजीशन में फिर? मतलब
when you hustle, you figure out how to handle that. The Yahoo was there, as मतलब we had the same setup
जो
याहू का था. तो जो याहू का एडमिन वाला, उसका बहुत बड़ा अच्छा ब्लॉग होता था. तो ही वुड से इसकी ऐसे करना, you will just go follow that, all of that. And I think that is the time, till that time we didn't have the resources. Then we were able to hire good मतलब admin people who knew how to manage those things, and they did that. But yeah, all of that happened. A lot of, and the times were more forgiving. There were less traffic. There was no competition, so people were ready to live with the but now things are
attention
different.
spans were थोड़ा सा bigger.
Yeah. So वो था.
अभी महीने में एक महीने में लगभग कितनी स्टार्टअप पिचेस सुनते हैं सर आप?
So now what has happened is that ki I have my own filter. So what happens, and that will happen to many angels, is that ki after a point they get fatigued.
बिल्कुल.
So you have a certain filters ki boss, I will take the deals only from such sources. So
give us examples. जैसे filter, how do you, because I understand the number of emails that you guys get on your, it's massive. How do you filter out कि इस email का reply करना है या इस startup देना है या इसकी speech सुननी है? How is that? So
again, as I said, today what happened is that कि LetsVenture knows me very well.
ठीक है.
They understand what kind of investment I look for. I have a good equation with all the deal managers there. So they know which deals में they will अलग से बता देंगे कि सर ये वाली देख लो, this is of relevance to you. So if they recommend something, that I'll look. That is one.
Got it.
Second is that I will never say no to a deal which has come from one of my founders. So if he says this is something you should look at, I look at that. And similarly, there are certain investors with whom I have co-invested. They will recommend. So again, I said I don't do cold calls. So if you send me an email, chances that it will get unnoticed.
Got it.
So it has to be from a warm connect. Then I'll look.
And tell us about some great co-investors जिनके साथ आपको invest करना बहुत अच्छा लगता है सर.
So जैसे you said, I understand platforms. So anything which to do with the platform that comes to me. I know people who are very good at consumer, so I will depend upon them. I have friends who understands agriculture very well. So if they're doing agriculture, I mean, one of my best investment has come because I was there with him. He understands the agriculture very well. So when he said कि ये करना है, तो हमने आँख बंद कर, मतलब वो कर रहा था. And the thing is that कि we had gone, we talked to some of the farmers with whom he was working, and these were like hardened this. So मतलब वही मैं कि when the customer says कि boss, this product is working for me, मेरा ये रहता है कि वो traction अगर है, if the customer is happy, invest. So I did that. One of the places where I did blind because somebody had told me to do and worked beautifully was Animal, which I don't know if you have heard that story or not, but those two girls have done extremely well.
Can you briefly?
No, it was basically LetsVenture had got an allocation in a very good startup.
ठीक है.
And we were investing. I heard the pitch. मतलब it was a recorded pitch. I had listened. I just loved the story so much that I said कि इसमें करना, and that has done extremely
What's the
well.
name of the founder or
the company is Animal. They basically are into animal trade.
अच्छा.
तो जो हमारा जो पशु मेला होता था
पुष्कर में और यहाँ पर जो पशु मेला,
वो they got
Internet
online internet पे ले आए.
Wow.
An amazing story.
Got it. And last for the question for the day, let's say कि किसी founder ने warm introduction ले लिया आपसे, किसी से ले लिया आपके लिए, and now they are pitching to you. Tell us what are the toughest questions that you are going to ask those founders, ताकि जितने भी लोग आपसे pitch करने आए वो पहले ही समझ जाए कि हम आपके पास आने से ये हमको question के जवाब तैयार रखने हैं.
See, there's not a one tough questions that will happen. That tough question for each one of them will be different.
Right.
ठीक है. One is कि why you want to do that and why you are the right person to do that.
ठीक है.
And the thing is that कि वो है कि with the experience what happens is you are able to figure out कि is this a deep insight or it's a me too. And you have to spend all the time. And the thing that if I don't have the expertise or if I don't have a view on that segment, I'll be the first one to say कि boss इस पे मैं call नहीं लूँगा because I don't understand. जैसे gaming है, I don't understand gaming. So any startup which comes on the gaming, I am very clear कि boss मैं touch नहीं कर सकता because I don't understand whom we are working with. But when it comes to let's say real estate, so I have certain co-investors who understands real estate. So I'll understand and then I say okay, now let's go to him and see how he whether he validates you or not.
Right.
if he validates you, then I'll do that. So now what happened, and that's what happened. The angel investing is a group sports.
Right.
So there will be 4 or 5 people that you trust on their domains, and whenever you will get a good startup in their domain, you will say, okay, fintech है, fintech इसका इससे पूछते हैं, ये एग्रीकल्चर वाला इससे, SaaS वाला इसके साथ है, प्लेटफॉर्म वाले मेरे पास आ जाते हैं, कंज्यूमर के लिए किसी और के पास आ जाते हैं, हार्डवेयर के लिए कोई और है. तो इस तरह से जो है ओवर ए पीरियड ऑफ टाइम यू हैव दिस वो, एंड दैट इज व्हाट आई एम ट्राइंग टू से, कि इफ यू हैव द गुड कर्मस, the way you are taking the deals to them, they bring the good deals to them, and that's where your good deal flow happens.
So वो जो आप एंजल जैसे आप बोल रहे हैं, एंजल इन्वेस्टिंग इज अ ग्रुप स्पोर्ट, एंड यू फाइंड दैट ग्रुप विद दैट गुड कर्मा कि यार मैं किसी को दूंगा तो फिर वो भी अपने पास लेके आएंगे. टेल अस सर्टेन इंडस्ट्रीज, especially in India, we are all listening to the India story, certain ideas or certain industries that you are bullish on कि यार this is going to be big and you are heavily betting on that.
On a perennial level, what I believe is that India, there are a lot of markets which are underserved.
ठीक है.
Unfortunately, not many people understands Indian consumer. We are not homogeneous consumers. We have like 3 or 4 different buckets. We have India 1, India 2, India 3,
India 1 maybe India A1 है.
India 1 maybe India A1 है. That, I mean, anybody who understands the deep insights, those datas, that surveys is now available. So my perennial theme is that if you are working on something which will be for the India 2, because that's such a large aspiring market, if you are able to create any kind of product or service for that, there is no worry about the TAM, how large it will become. So that is something that whatever I look, I always look through that prism. Is it going to serve in that market or not? If it's going to serve there, because I know it's going to, that's a market which will grow at a very large space for a very long time. So even if you are minuscule today, just by the sheer compounding in the next 10-15 years, that will become a very large market.
Got it.
So that is my constant theme. So that is there. So then whether it's education, whether it's fintech, whether it's consumer, whether it's SaaS, whether वो, I always look at from there कि boss ये India A1 के लिए या India 2 के लिए है. अगर India 2 के लिए तो I get excited about that. It's not that I will not look at there, but yeah, if that's there, that is something which I am passionate about, and I get inclined, because I know that will become very, very, very large.
People who are in their college, sir, what would be your best advice to them कि यार college में है, idea आ रहा है, what's the advice?
My advice, and again I'm repeating what I've told the kids here, is that कि boss, this is the time to widen your range. आपको जितना ज़्यादा चीज़ों के बारे में अंडरस्टैंडिंग होगी, because the world is changing so fast, you are living in an exponential age, everything, the way, I mean, you look at the blockchain wala part, that's going to revolutionize everything. You look at the AI wala part, that's going to revolutionize everything. You look at the quantum computing, you look at the data part, that is going to revolutionize everything. You look at on the medical side, everything will get. On the robotic side, automation, everything is going to change. So my point is that you need to be aware of all these 7-8 different exponential initiatives which are coming in, because आप कोई भी problem ले लोगे, उसमें आप ये 3-4 चीजें मिला लोगे, you will be able to disrupt that like anything. But the point is, अगर आपको इनके बारे में पता ही नहीं है,
how will you
वो आप कैसे, कोई और आके उसको कर देगा. तो अभी जो है for this, and that's the reason I am very, very passionate about what Plaksha is trying to do, is give you that platform where you can explore all of this, become expert in all of that. The silos will not work. You need to be interdisciplinary. You will have to synthesize 4 or 5 different approaches for any problem which is out there.
Wow.
So right now, just work on just inculcating your toolkit.
Horizon, yeah.
Once you do that, I mean, you get all these tools into your arsenal, then figure out what problem you want to go after.
On the same vision, this podcast Exploring Minds was started to complement, to give horizons about fields, and to complement the structures, the syllabus, the curriculum which is taught, which is being currently taught in our colleges. So thanks a lot, sir. Super.